For today's video, I'm going to show you how I build a combination storage and casting deck for this Jon boat. Let's get into it. All right, well, if you guys have been following along with this build series so far, you'll know that in the last video, I got the flooring and foam cut to fit for the floors of the Jon boat. However, since that video, I have gone back and forth how I want to do the front of this boat. So let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so as I mentioned in the last video, I cut some foam support boards and cut to fit a piece of plywood that I was gonna have as a low standing platform. And then I was gonna build a little bit of a storage unit in the front here. Here's what I'm changing. The casting deck is gonna come out straight across the top of the seat, all the way to the end here. So what that's gonna do is give you the whole front third of the boat for standing and fishing. The first thing I wanted to do was run some horizontal braces from the front of the boat, tying into the bench seat here. This is a scrap piece of 1-inch aluminum angle. I have another 8-foot piece of 1-inch aluminum angle that should provide all of the angle I'm gonna need to build this out. For my rivet tool, I'm using this Craftsman one. I like it because it has this swivel head and it has a rivet catch on the back. I've used a bunch of them. They all work pretty well, but I do like the ones that have the front curved handle. It's just more ergonomic when you're trying to pop a rivet with one hand. So these are 3/4 inch grip rivets, and these are 3/8 inch grip rivets. You want to pick the grip that matches what you're trying to join. You want to make sure that there's enough gap on the other side of the second piece of material, so when the stem gets pulled out, there's enough of the rivet material left to crush and join the two pieces together. For this setup here, I think that I'm just gonna use my smaller rivets. This is more than enough grip because the bench seat aluminum isn't that thick. Okay, so now I need to level this piece of aluminum and affix it to the vertical support in the front of the boat. Make sure that when you're drilling your hole for connections, you don't drill them too high. Your rivet tool can't get on the rivet stem. See that? Higher than that, you just won't be able to get in there. So try to do it to the bottom half when you're drilling this. Now let's go ahead and try this out. So the rivet's gonna come through the back side. Perfect, absolutely perfect, okay? Okay, so now with all of our points drilled out, I'm gonna get my rivet, put it into the one end over here. We're gonna clamp the aluminum together and then get this riveted together. It's one of those scenarios where that swivel comes in. All right, so the nice thing is that this is in there. It's nice and strong. It's not perfect yet, but once we add a vertical support in the center of it, you'll be able to stand and jump on this with absolutely no problem. Not to mention, it's gonna get paired with other pieces throughout the boat. So now that I've showed you guys how to do this one here, I'm gonna go knock out the other one real quick. That way we'll have our general top support done, and then we can start fitting wood and then see how we're gonna have to start doing our vertical supports. Okay, so at this point, both horizontal center braces are in place. Just to give you a rough idea of how this is gonna look, put this wood right across here. It's gonna come across something like that and make its way all the way to the end of the bench seat. And then this is gonna be your front standing platform. This piece is probably gonna be the center area of the wood. Then I'm gonna need to have 2 side pieces that join the whole thing together. For example, we'll have another piece that comes down like this side over here, something like that. And then all of the wood will be joined together with underlying supports, and then the whole thing is gonna get epoxied so it is sealed and very, very firm to walk on. So what I'm working on now is extending the center piece of plywood out to the sides. I'm gonna try to use a cardboard cutout here and make a template that accounts for the ribs. So to get started, we're gonna try to get this pushed all the way to the end. So we have our corner up in the edge here, but this rib is currently stopping us. this up. Okay, so that right there allows us pretty good access. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to cut off all this cardboard. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now what we need to do is clean up these cut holes. So to do that, I'm going to put it in place. And then I'm going to use masking tape to cover any exposed area that I don't want cut. So I'm going to cover this like this. I'm going to do a small piece right here. I'm going to go straight across. Now this is looking just like how I would want this edge to look. Last but not least, we got to add one more piece here. Make sure this doesn't move after we set this up. Okay. Now same thing, we're going to do a little relief cut here. Okay, that provides a small notch for the rib here. Now that I'm setting this up in its final position, I want to make sure that this does not move from the wood. And masking tape can be a little flimsy, so I'm just going to put a couple of just very light staples into this. Okay, that's not going anywhere now. Okay, so this pretty much takes care of this side. Now we're going to work on the other side. And then this one looks pretty good. Maybe we'll just straighten this line out. Let's go ahead and get this out of the boat, flipped over onto some scrap pieces of plywood, get those side wedges cut out, and then notched out and put everything together to make sure it all fits. I drew one line cutting across the entire bench. That way, when I have the templates in place, I'll know exactly how to cut the ends of it. Okay, so now with this flip down, I'm going to use the wood as a guide and cut out my templates. And then that will give me the perfect template to cut out for plywood. Okay, so here's my first template. This would be set up similar to the end of the wood, like this. Okay, so I have this clamped down here. I'm gonna do my best to cut this out with the circular saw. I don't have a table saw anymore, so we'll see how this goes. My main goal is to just cut straight line down, and then I'm gonna come back with the jigsaw and knock out any of the notches. I'm gonna use the circular saw to just do some basic cut-ins, and then we'll come back and clean this up with the jigsaw if we need to. All right, so our basic template is good for this side. I'm gonna pop this one off. Now I wanna get the center floor trimmed up, and then I wanna fit these two pieces before I cut the third template. All right, let's see how this all fits together. This should be cut to size now. Yeah, okay, so this is this side. That looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. We need to trim about another ½ inch off of it. Well, that side's already in place, so this side should just kind of slot itself in here. And I'm just gonna run a couple screws into this wood to hold it in place. That way we can make sure everything fits up correctly, and then we can work on adjusting it. But right now, while everything's kind of floating around, nothing's secure enough to make any kind of final measurements. So I want this piece up against the wall as best as it can. And now let's put a couple screws in it. And we don't got to worry about the holes because we're going to be epoxying everything. There we go. Okay. So the same thing for the other side. Okay, first thing I need to do is trim the length of this because it's a little too long. So I'm going to do that first. Let's see if that helped. Okay, we're the right length now. I see a few areas I can trim up over here, so let's try that first. Yeah, this is like perfect. Okay, so believe it or not, this is looking very, very good and in its very final home stretch. So I think when I have this out, I'm gonna take these two mounts and drop them down about a 1/2 inch. That will level this better with the bench seat itself. Then I think I'm gonna leave the bench seat alone completely. I'm gonna reinstall the lid, and then I'm gonna put flooring going up to the lid, on top of the lid, and then on the other side of the lid. So there will be a small seam here that I may fill in with some type of seam filler. I'm not sure exactly what idea I'm gonna do with that, but that will allow full access to the live well / cooler that I built here, which would be really nice and useful with its original factory lid. So it'll retain that functionality. And then this portion can be done completely separate from this portion, which will be a lot easier to work with when I'm doing all of the flooring. Now, I may want to trim this portion here down some so it is flush with the floor. So whatever solution I come up with, it works going all the way down. Otherwise, I'm gonna come up with something for half of it and then I'm gonna have to deal with this here. So we want one consistent edge. We can deal with an edge. We just need a consistent edge. We need this to get waterproofed. I need to lower the front mount slightly, probably about a 1/2 inch. It won't be a problem. And then we're on our way. All right, guys, well, that's where I'm gonna end it for this video. At this point, the front deck is essentially built. The next video, I'm gonna go over epoxying and waterproofing all of the wood that I've cut to fit so far. If you guys wanna see how that's done, don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any ideas on what I should do for the boat build, or you wanna see how it progresses, or you wanna see some of the other cool projects I got in store for the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.